Welcome back to another edition of Paper Trails. Today, I want to bring to attention something that came up on my Twitter feed. Y'all can find me over there at hail_the king. And for those that like community, especially to want to be part of our stock and options trading community, we also have the Discord, which is Legacy Network. Feel free to tap in and join and become a member there as well. Links will be in the description. So, with that said, this video is about a lady, a Palestinian-American lady, who claims that she went on a trip with some African Americans who came to, help volunteer, which sounds good on the surface, but then she says that after they were called monkeys and slaves by the people in Palestine, then she became offended that they were offended at how they were treated, which is crazy. That shit is insane. So I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of what she's talking about, and then we're gonna go to some of the actual responses, and then maybe in between it just depends on how I get. You know, I might chime in or I might just chime in at the end. But we're going ahead and just jump straight in to her bullshit, and here it is right here.
I don't know what I was expecting from my trip to Palestine, but I certainly did not expect to walk away with racial tensions between myself and the Black people in our group. And that's really disappointing for me to admit, because I was so excited to go on this trip with Black Americans, because I was always under the impression that Black people will be our greatest allies because they understand more than anybody what it's like to live under occupation, what it's like to be oppressed and racially profiled. But during the trip, it felt like some people were too busy playing oppression Olympics to fully grasp the experiences of Palestinians living in Palestine. Some people came on the trip with a very limited understanding of the Palestinian people and the Palestinian cause, which is problematic in and of itself. But the most problematic thing was the fact that some people were applying a Western lens of racial dynamics to a place where it does not apply. I am not going to sit here and deny that anti-Blackness exists in every single part of the world. But the issue of race is much different in Palestine than in most other places in the world. In Palestine, Palestinians...
So she's trying to justify, I guess, the treatment that her Black friends endured, and that they are wrong for pointing out that they're being treated a certain way, even though they came to help. These motherfuckers flew halfway across the world to help volunteer there. So I'm just gonna fast forward.
Of all colors.
Damn, this shit don't let you fast forward. We gotta endure the whole shit. Oh no. Alright, fuck it. Let's play a little bit more.
Are undoubtedly the most oppressed people. In Palestine, a non-Palestinian Black person is more privileged than a Palestinian of any color. And an American, Black or white, is one of the most privileged people in Palestine, right beneath Israelis. Some people in the group were too busy victimizing themselves and taking out their anger on all the wrong people to sit with the reality that in modern day, there are some people that are more oppressed than them. One person in particular was incredibly problematic, especially considering she was one of the group leads who was hosting private conversations exclusively for the 7 Black people in the group, which under almost any other circumstances I would encourage. I encourage Black people to create safe spaces for themselves to discuss racial issues among themselves. But the issue is that the only comments I heard come out of this person's mouth about Palestine and Palestinians were negative, were about how racist we are, were about how slavery persisted until the 20th century in Palestine, which is such an uneducated take, by the way.
Okay, so enough. Shorty is basically, like I said, just trying to justify, at least according to the story, because this hasn't, like, nigga, if I'm really that serious, if I'm gonna be on some bullshit, I'm gonna be 10 toes down with it. So if I was this person, I brought these people over. I'm naming names. I'm dropping social media handles, all that shit. She's trying to low key shame individuals that do not exist because she would have outed them. You know what I mean? If I brought some motherfuckers to help and I felt a certain way about something and I'm on the fuckery, then you're gonna go all the way through with the fuckery. Her fuckery is that she brought these people, these fictional people here to Palestine. They experienced racism, and she's mad that they experienced racism and they should swallow that shit because the main focus is helping the Palestinians. According to her story, these individuals stayed there because you ain't flying halfway around the world for one day. You ain't flying halfway around the world to volunteer for 2 days. I'm sure it was at minimum a week, 2 week process of so-called volunteering. So unless they can't flew over there, they got the racist experience, and then they was like, fuck it, we ain't helping nobody. Or turned around, we going back on the plane, fuck you, we out of here. No, that was not the experience according to her full drawn out story. But there's many things problematic in what she's saying. If a person is experiencing something, as she points out in the very beginning, people who have experienced this historically for so long and still experiences it, we're not supposed to be offended when it happens in another country. We're offended when it happened home. So of course we're gonna feel away if it happens in another country as well. So that's all I gotta say for right now. We're gonna jump to one of the video responses and see what they gotta say.
This is what's really starting to piss me off about this conversation. Please, people in the comments, please come to my video and help me understand why black people enduring racism will help Palestine be free. Help me understand why black people have to endure severe anti-blackness, not only in America, but everywhere else in the world. And in order for us to help you, we have to shut up about it, close our lips, and endure your anti-blackness and racism. And it's
And that is the gist of what Shorty's saying. Shut the fuck up, deal with it. No. Because as she points out, you know, I mean, you can't use and make references to black civil rights leaders, but then on the other side of your mouth, the message is take the racism, deal with it, and shut the fuck up. No, if that was the case, none of our civil rights leaders would have ever made the move. You feel me? They just would have sat there with their mouth shut and just dealt with it, and shit would have never inched forward because that's all it was, inches forward. But Shorty, she's on point with everything she's saying right now.
just our duty to just be quiet. Heather did nothing wrong. Your comfort isn't a priority. Comfort, people not wanting to be called the N-word, people not wanting to be shown blatant racism and anti-blackness. The entitlement that comes from this sentiment is crazy to me. And that's anti-black in itself. Y'all expect black people to be the legs and the mules and the laborers of these movements and just endure, and not have any safe space to just simply exist and be seen as human. Dehumanization is what is leading to the genocide that is happening to Palestinians right now. But you want black people to have to deal with you dehumanizing us? You want black people to just, for some reason, have to deal with racism and it's no big deal? Y'all, I've seen the most entitled, disgusting, audacious comments around this stuff. People are in the comments, so what if people are being racist towards you? We got bigger fish to fry. You better help.
Fuck out of here. No, the people in them comments talking that shit, they are raccoons. That's what they are. But let's jump to another person in the comments. So obviously the first video is he baddie. No, if you a racist that enjoy her bullshit, go follow her at he baddie over on TikTok. The sister that we just listened to, she is Manny Talks Zero, and I'll have the links to all of these different people in the description, the video description, to give them their shout out and their props. We're gonna move on to the next response video.
Black people truly have no allies in this world. I'm an altruistic person at my core, and I truly believe that there can always be a change and a room to educate people. Why I make the kind of videos that I make. But I just saw this girl go on a 6-minute rant about how a group of Black Americans went to Palestine with her, where they shared with her and the group that they were experiencing racism from the Palestinians, to which she insinuated they should have accepted the behavior, they should have shut up about the behavior instead of playing up oppression Olympics.
Because I was so excited to go on this trip with Black Americans. But during the trip, it felt like some people were too busy playing oppression Olympics. Some people in the group were too busy victimizing themselves, that the only comments I heard come out of this person's mouth about Palestine and Palestinians were negative, were about how racist we are, were about how slavery persisted until the 20th century in Palestine, which is such an uneducated taker, and talked all this shit about how racist Palestinians are, did not hesitate to pose in front of a ginormous George Floyd mural. Because if I was somebody else, if I haven't already done so much work for the Black community, if I didn't already have a deep understanding of racial dynamics, this entire experience might have pushed me away from the Black community.
Bitch, please.
Yup.
My grandmother used to always tell me, if the story doesn't make sense, then it's definitely a lie. So there's things missing in context in her whole story. But instead of actually listening to Black people, because Black people do not claim racism for no reason. Contrary to what you've all been socialized to believe, if a Black person says that someone is racist, they actually have experienced racism. The anti-Blackness that exists within the Arab community is loud, and it's always been loud. This is the same issue we had when this conflict started, where people lack the ability to understand more than one thing can be true, and intersectionality is real. Black people can absolutely stand up for what they believe in and prioritize ourselves first as an oppressed group and still support others. Now, with the history of anti-Blackness within the Arab community, slavery within the Arab community with Black people, the way they treat Black people in the region and domestically in America, rightfully so, a Black person would have preconceived notions about how Arabs treat us. But when that's reinforced by the actual treatment of racism towards us, we're going to say it out loud. Black people are not going to conform and just accept racism. And you're asking people to just accept how they're treated, and they should have been quiet about how they're treated. Come on, let's be fucking for real right now. Two things can be true, and the fact that people don't understand this concept blows my mind. Palestinians can absolutely be occupied, can absolutely live under oppression, and Black people can absolutely be one of the most hated groups of people in the world, no matter where we are.
So boom, just to add on to what this brother, who is Adiv, hopefully I said his name correctly. Those things can be true, and you have to understand, like, the question that I'm gonna throw out, I'm gonna pause so you can marinate and hopefully come to the conclusion on your own. What is America's greatest export? It's not it's culture, but more importantly, it's white supremacy via movies, TV, magazines. It's social conditioning that has been put down really since colonial times. But obviously, when you fast forward to the 20th century, where the print press, via not talking about the 1600 shit, the modern shit, where you start to have your trendy, cool magazines, People, Time, whatever, as well as the TV and the movies, they show white people favorably, and they show Black people historically in a negative low level or a low light, consciously and subconsciously, people globally who've um, consumed that media were given their biases without realizing they were given their biases. That's just the science of the shit. Fifth Avenue, they say, have the best psychologists on the planet. Think about it. These are a group of people that convince people every day in these advertising firms to buy curved screen, computer screens, 50-inch, 40-inch, whatever shit they don't need, but they convince motherfuckers on a regular basis to do shit outside of what they would normally want to do. This is the agenda and this is the monster that has created individuals like this lady who, even though she says she's Palestinian American, she could have been born over there and then came over here later. It's hard to tell. Who knows? Who cares? But the point is, the people that were racist in this scenario most likely received that programming through such, forms. Not to mention, if these countries were direct sites of colonialism under direct white rule, by default, that gives you colorism and what comes with colorism, racism. The lighter you are, the closer you are to whiteness. The darker you are, the worse your treatment, and the lower in society you are going to be seen as, point blank, period. And for those who even try to come in the comments, you're only going to fuck up by getting me further cranked up, because I will do a breakdown on every motherfucking country you niggas come from if you try to act like you in a fairy tale world, nigga. But anyway, we're going to move on to number 3, which is the Pokey Preet. Hopefully I pronounced his name correctly.
I just saw Heba's video. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I swear to God. So her and a group of 8 to 7 black people went to occupied Palestine for a religious trip, okay? And they experienced some anti-blackness in, an apartheid state, for sure. What she says is, I am disappointed in all black people. I thought the black community would be Palestine's biggest supporters because they're also a marginalized group. What do you mean? There were just 8 people who experienced some slight racism on the trip. And then she's all like, they started safe spaces in order to discuss it. Okay, that's cool. But she has a problem with that for some reason. So first of all, 7 to 8 black people, they go on a trip. They experience a little bit of racism. Suddenly, all black people have failed Palestinians. The black community has failed Palestinians.
Exactly. And that's the other point. I'm glad my man pointed that out. See, that's the thing with these fake allies. The moment some shit goes left in the scenario, because I still think this whole scenario is fake, but the moment something goes left, if this hypothetically was real, now you don't know if you support the black community because these black people that came with you were offended that other Palestinians was racist towards them, and you're upset and your feelings is hurt that they were being treated like shit and slime, even though they came to your country allegedly and flew halfway around the world to help try to provide aid and volunteer and put in man hours of work for the cause of your people. Fuck out of here. But continue, my guy.
Okay, then it's like a religious trip, okay? So because of the TikTok game of telephone, it became from a religious trip to it was a volunteer group within Gaza. That's not it at all. And instead of going to this group of people, because her main problem was they're being chauvinistic towards Palestinians. Instead of going to this group of 7 or 8 people and discussing it with them, she went online and started posting about it on TikTok. And nobody from this group has even come forward to discuss it online whatsoever. The most they did, according to her, was post on a Facebook group. Guys, if I had seen this take by Heba, I would not have posted my original take. like 7 to 8 people don't act the way you want them to, right? Because you feel like they're being a little bit chauvinistic and coming to Palestine from a Western point of view and not understanding the nuances of the society. Okay, for sure. I mean, you're saying they experience anti-blackness in Palestine, for sure. But, maybe, there is a perspective there from a Palestinian side that, like, maybe I could understand. Like, maybe there is some kind of Western perspective that they're bringing there. Why on earth would you claim that this is a failure on the whole black community's part then? It's just 8 individuals. And then your problem is that they started safe spaces to talk to each other. And then I've checked out Heba's other videos. She's a content creator. Like, she's not like some FBI plant or some CIA plant meant to like make discourse. I am so confused. If I had seen that original take, I don't think I would have made any of my videos.
So I guess he's saying Shorty is more of a social content person. So this whole video was most likely part of a rage bait campaign. Yeah, I learned that earlier from one of my people there. They're trying to get me hip and shit. So we're gonna slide on to the next individual here, reactionary leftist, get a couple of his thoughts on the matter.
She corrected the people experiencing the racism rather than the people doing the racism. She accused the people experiencing the racism of doing Oppression Olympics and used the conditions of the people doing the racism for that accusation.
And once again, right out the gate, my man has good points. I don't give a fuck if a rich white man could be racist towards you, and a homeless white man that's on the corner begging for $5 could still be racist. You know what I mean? Let's not use somebody's condition as an excuse of, if they racist or if they're capable of being racist or not. Throw all that shit out the window. A racist homeless dude will gladly take that nigga $5 and call you a nigga after he receives the $5. Thank you, nigga. Let's not get this shit fucked up. This is real life we dealing with. And then the other valid point that this guy is breaking down is the fact that, okay, if you know that you brought these black people to your country and these people that are your fellow citizens have come out of pocket by calling them monkeys and slaves, you ain't supposed to be upset at your people for feeling. You supposed to have checked those motherfuckers right then and there. Like, yo, these are my guests in this country, my nigga. You don't ever fucking come out your mouth and speak with disrespect to my guests. Period. But this ain't a real bitch that we dealing with who made the video. So clearly she don't understand nothing about that. Because if she came to somebody's hood here in America and somebody ran down talking out of pocket, talking about, oh, you a towel head, you a terrorist, you this, you that, white or black, they gonna probably check whoever coming at him. Hey, hold up, buddy. She's no fucking terrorist. Or if it's a nigga, yo, we ain't even hearing that shit. You know what I mean? Watch your motherfucking mouth. You know what I mean? So the fact she ain't even stand up for the people that she's claiming to have brought there, you the ops, bitch. You bringing people into a fucked up situation from the jump. But anyway, we're gonna let this thing continue to cook.
This is so obvious. She corrected the people experiencing the racism rather than the people doing the racism. She accused the people experiencing the racism of doing Oppression Olympics and used the conditions of the people doing the racism for that accusation. This is so obvious. She corrected the people experiencing.
Okay, cool. So this shit is like on a loop. We're gonna go to the next person. But in the meantime, once again, this is bad business on her part. You know what I mean? I don't care. You know, you're trying to clickbait, rage bait, whatever, whatever, but there's other ways to do it, baby. Now you're going to have everybody in a minute not really wanting to fuck with you if this shit bubble further on a larger level. You're trying to paint collectively black people as being against Palestine when I could scroll through my motherfucking Twitter feed or X feed and see countless black people that are pro Palestine that are like, fuck what's going on, what's being done by Israel to them. But because eight people, because eight people that are fictional, most likely, that you claim were offended by experiencing racism, then it's fuck all black people. I should just, come on, man. Your story is flimsy, and what you're doing is kind of slime ball like and dirty. All right, let's see what this sister right here talking about.
Why is it that a black person can't vocalize the racism or anti-blackness they've experienced at the hands of Arabs or Arab Americans without the onus being put back on the black person to fix it? There's always a Heba out there screaming, "It's not the oppression of Olympics, stop putting Western standards on non-Western people." This is basically exactly what happened with Maya and Tory. Someone told Tory, "Get that Palestinian flag out of your bio if you intend on voting for Kamala Harris." And Tory said, "Bet. Flag gone." What did Maya do? She take the time to talk to her own community about how the rhetoric that was launched at Tory did nothing but harm the Palestinian movement? No. She got on the internet and said, well, if that was enough to take the flag out of her bio, she never really supported Palestine anyways. Okay. You expect black people to accept disrespect. Look inward, all right? Deal with the poison within before you request solidarity from anyone. When that poison seeps out inevitably and we get a whiff of that nasty shit, don't expect us to put gas masks on and stick around for the party. Get the fuck out of here. Why is it that a black person can't vocalize?
Yeah, once again, this is all facts. This is all facts that's being spoken here. These everybody expects. See, everybody fits on the black Americans collectively, but then when it's their turn to be going through some shit, they want us to come to their aid. Now, the fact that everybody is expecting this says volumes about the fact of history that when we do come together, we do make some shit happen to a degree. You know what I mean? By hook or by crook, we're gonna try to do something to move that needle. And because of the efforts that we have made historically, you have other disenfranchised groups within America that finally got their due as far as whether it was more rights, full rights, partial rights, or some of these groups had zero rights. You feel me? So on the back of the work that our ancestors did and put in, all these other groups who you guys may or may not know, but I'll leave it to y'all to do y'all research, have benefited. And just because we don't jump when you call right away, then there's the bullshit and the disrespect and pardon me, and the slick talk. I'm sorry, them days is over. There never really was them days. You know what I'm saying? So you do have some caping individuals out here that will tolerate disrespect and still be like, "How can I help?" Even though you smacking them in the face and calling them monkeys and all that. But in 2026, a lot of our people are not only awoke, but we are tired of other groups trying to ride our wave or trying to get our assistance when we was going through whatever we was going through. Motherfuckers was like, that's black people problems. When benefits is being handed out, motherfuckers is like people of color. When there's some negative shit out there, oh, that's them niggas. You can't have it both ways. And that's my 2 cents of the whole shit. You trying to use black people and low key make them a villain once again, just like everyone else has over the decades for your come up. I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen. But anyway, we're gonna keep this thing moving, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.